The other thing that bears mentioning, we'll talk about this a lot tomorrow when we talk about luring, but generally you want to practice delivering food off the flat of your hand, because we're going to ask the dog to take the food vigorously, and don't hold the food with your fingertips and go like this. The dogs grab the ends of your fingers. So what we'll do is when you grab a piece of food, Garrett, can I get you a piece of food? Hey, Ross. So Gary's got kibble because he has a very food-motivated dog, but I'm going to hold it kind of against the flat of my hand like that and use the end of my thumb to kind of hold it in place. I usually put it between my index finger and middle finger. And pieces that are slightly bigger than this are a little bit easier for you to hold on to. But I hold them like that, and then when I have it in my hand, I say, yes, and I move, and I put my hand like that, and as the dog comes, I just roll my thumb out of the way, and the dog just grabs the piece of food off the flat of my hand. That way, if they take it energetically, it doesn't get my fingertips, and it permits them to kind of go harder for the food, which is what we want motivationally. So everybody wants the dog to be gentle for their hands, but that's not good for motivation. And in the early stages, I want that dog to really want the reward. And so I'm going to encourage them to sort of take the reward vigorously. And so how I hold and deliver that reward is important so that I don't lose a fingertip, right, in the process. And if I have a dog that's in the right state of mind motivationally, they take the food fairly vigorously. And if your dog isn't, then we have work to do on their motivation end of it to maximize that. And one of the things that bears mentioning is we always need more motivation than you think you need. So when you're doing something like conditioning your markers, you're not asking the dog to do anything. I'm just standing there and handing you one piece of food after another. So I can condition that with a dog that's not super crazy for their food. They'll still get conditioned. But when I start asking that dog to work for rewards, I'm going to teach the dog increasingly complex behaviors. I want them to do it for longer periods of time. The more obstacles I put in their way on the way to the reward, the more motivation I need. Otherwise they go, yeah, but nah, it's not worth it. And then I'm stuck. When I run out of motivation, I'm switching over to my other sets of tools. My negative reinforcement and positive punishment. I'm switching over to having to pressure the dog at that point. And in the teaching phase, I want to avoid that. In the teaching phase, I want the dog to want it bad enough that I can manipulate them in a reward-based system. And so recognize that the amount of motivation you would need from your dog just to sit there and hand them pieces of food, and the amount of motivation that would be necessary to teach the dog more complex behaviors is wildly different. And you want more in the bank than you think. And so having a dog that is kind of obnoxious and pushy when they're in the learning phase is much nicer than having a dog that's a little inhibited, careful, and lacking motivation. So if you're going to err at the teaching end, err on making the dog more pushy. And one of the ways we do that is how we deliver the food. Not here, not where the dog has to be careful, but where the dog can really grab it when they want it.